The night sky above Earth was calm, filled with stars that blinked like tiny eyes watching silently. Far away among those stars, a royal spaceship slowly floated down toward the planet. Inside that ship was a young alien girl. She was no ordinary girl. She was the daughter of a powerful ruler, one of the richest families in the galaxy. Her people bowed before her, obeyed her every word, and brought her treasures from across the stars. Yet tonight she had chosen to leave all of that behind. Her name was Princess Solara, though no one on Earth would know it. She had dressed herself in rough, torn clothing. Her golden skin was hidden under a thin layer of dust, and her glowing royal marks were carefully covered. She looked not like a princess, but like a poor traveler, lost and tired. For the first time in her life, she wanted to live not as a royal, but as a stranger among humans. Why would a princess choose such a strange path? Because Solara had questions no one in her empire could answer. She had seen endless riches, endless power, but she had also seen coldness in the hearts of those around her. Many who smiled at her did so only because of her crown. Many who offered help expected gifts in return. She wanted to know, did kindness exist without reason? Could someone be good when they had nothing to gain? Her ship landed quietly in a dark forest outside a human city. The ramp opened with a hiss and Solara stepped onto the ground, her shoes sinking slightly into the soil. The air was fresh, filled with scents she had never known. For a moment she closed her eyes and breathed deeply. She felt free, she felt invisible. She walked for hours until she reached the edge of the city. Lights glowed in the distance, voices filled the night, and strange machines roared through the streets. Solara pulled her hood tighter, hiding her face. To the humans, she looked like nothing more than a weary traveler. No guards, no servants, no riches, only a girl alone in the world. The city was busy even at night. People hurried past her, carrying bags, talking loudly, and looking down at glowing devices in their hands. Solara stepped aside each time, but no one looked at her. She passed a food stall where the smell of roasted bread and warm soup made her stomach twist with hunger. She realized she had not eaten since leaving her homeworld. She reached into her pocket, but she had no human money, only a small piece of crystal from her palace. To her, it was worthless. To humans, it would have been a fortune, but she could not reveal it. The man behind the stall glanced at her once, then quickly turned away. No money, no food, he muttered when she opened her mouth to speak. Solara lowered her head and walked on. This was exactly what she wanted, to be tested, to see who would show kindness without knowing who she really was. But still, the sting of rejection pressed against her heart. Hours passed and her legs grew weak. She sat down on the edge of the street, her back against a cold wall. Humans moved around her like water flowing past a stone. Some looked at her with quick eyes, others ignored her completely. She felt the strange weight of loneliness for the first time. On her world, she had always been surrounded by voices, by music, by attention. Here she was just another shadow in the night. But hidden beneath the sadness, something else was rising, excitement. Every step, every glance, every word spoken to her was real. None of it was forced. None of it came from fear of her power. This was the truth she had been searching for. As the night deepened, Solara pulled her thin cloak tighter around her shoulders. She wondered how long she could survive among humans without revealing herself. Would she find kindness or only cruelty? Would someone look into her eyes and see not a stranger but a soul in need? She leaned her head back and looked at the stars above. Somewhere out there, her father's guards were watching, ready to rush to her side if she was in danger. But she had given them strict orders. Do not interfere. This was her journey, her test. If she failed, then she would return to her palace, never knowing the answer to her greatest question. And so the hidden princess sat quietly in the human city, waiting. Her disguise was strong, her heart was steady, but her fate was uncertain. Somewhere nearby, her path was about to cross with a human who would change everything. The story of the richest alien girl and the poorest human man was about to begin. The morning sun rose slowly over the city, painting the streets in soft gold. Cars honked, vendors shouted, and people rushed to their work. The city was alive, but in the corner of that busy world sat Solara, still disguised as a poor traveler. Her cloak was dusty, her eyes tired. She had not slept well, for the hard ground gave her no comfort. Yet her mission was not over. She had promised herself that she would see humanity with her own eyes, without the shield of her wealth or her crown. Her stomach growled as she stood up. The scent of fresh bread drifted from a nearby bakery. She stepped closer, her mouth watering, but once again the shopkeeper shook his head when she could not show coins. Solara forced herself to walk away, her hunger growing heavier with every step. It was then that she noticed a man watching her. He was not rich. His clothes were old, patched many times, and his shoes were worn thin. He carried a small bag over his shoulder, and the lines on his face showed both hardship and strength. Most people passed Solara with quick glances, but this man's eyes lingered. For a moment she feared he might suspect her secret. She pulled her hood lower, but instead of turning away, the man slowly approached. "You look lost," he said softly. His voice was calm, almost kind. Solara hesitated. Should she answer? No one had spoken to her in such a gentle tone since she had arrived. She nodded, whispering, I am new here." The man studied her carefully. She expected him to ask for something, to demand payment, but instead he reached into his bag and pulled out a small piece of bread. It was not much, dry, a little rough, but he held it out to her as if it were a gift of great value. "Here," he said. "You look hungry. Take it." Solara's eyes widened. She looked from the bread to the man, unsure if this was a trick. "Why?" she asked. The man gave a faint smile. "Because no one should be hungry. Even if I don't have much, I can still share." Her fingers trembled as she accepted the bread. She had tasted the most expensive dishes in the galaxy, meals prepared by royal chefs with ingredients carried across star systems. Yet this small, rough piece of bread felt more valuable than all of them. She took a bite and warmth spread through her chest, not from the food but from the kindness. "What is your name?" she asked quietly. "Daniel," he replied. "And yours?" Solara froze. She could not reveal her true name. "Lyra," she said, choosing the first name that came to her mind. Daniel nodded. "Well, Lyra, you should be careful. This city is not always kind. Some people only look out for themselves." She studied him. His clothes showed poverty, yet his heart seemed rich. "Why help me then?" "You could keep it for yourself," Daniel shrugged. "Because tomorrow I might be the one sitting hungry, and maybe then someone will help me. Kindness, it goes around, you know." His words struck her deeply. On her world, kindness was rare. Deals were made with power, not with compassion. Yet here was a man with nothing giving away what little he had. They walked together for a while. Daniel carried his bag with quiet determination, while Solara kept stealing glances at him, trying to understand his heart. He did not ask where she came from, did not demand anything in return. He simply walked beside her as if she belonged there. At one point, a group of wealthy men passed by, laughing loudly. One of them noticed Solara's torn cloak and sneered. "Keep your distance," he muttered to his friends. "These beggars smell like the street." Solara lowered her head in shame. But before she could speak, Daniel stepped forward. His voice was calm but firm. "Leave her alone," he said. "She is not bothering anyone." The men laughed and walked away, but Solara felt something stir inside her. Protection. Loyalty. He had stood for her without hesitation. When they reached a quiet park, Daniel sat on a bench and offered her the last of his water. She accepted it, still wondering why a stranger would give so much. "You don't know me," she said. "What if I was dangerous?" Daniel chuckled softly. "I don't think you are. I can see it in your eyes. You're just lost, and everyone gets lost sometimes." Solara turned her face away, hiding the sudden warmth in her cheeks. For the first time, she felt something strange, a bond forming between her and this human. She had come to test humanity, but already she was being tested herself. As the sun began to set, Daniel stood. "I have to go now. Work starts early tomorrow. But if you need help, you can find me near the old factory on the east side. That's where I stay." Solara watched him walk away, his figure slowly fading into the crowd. Her heart beat fast. She had met many men in her life, princes, warriors, leaders, but none of them had given her what this human had. Kindness without reason. As night returned, Solara sat quietly, holding the memory of that bread and water. Her test had only begun, but already she was shaken. Could it be that the poorest human was richer in heart than the wealthiest alien? Only time would tell. The next day came quietly. The streets of the city filled once again with noise, horns, footsteps, voices blending into one endless song of survival. But for Solara, disguised as Lyra, the world felt different now. She had met someone, a human who did not turn away, who had offered food and water without asking who she was. The memory of Daniel stayed in her mind like a flame that refused to die. All night she had thought about him. His face, his words, his simple kindness. In her world, people with riches far greater than his would never share so freely. And yet this man with almost nothing had given her something that no treasure could buy. Warmth. She wanted to see him again, to understand him more deeply. By morning, Solara gathered her courage and walked toward the east side of the city, the place Daniel had mentioned. It was not a palace, not even close. Broken walls, rusted gates, and the ruins of an old factory stretched before her. People passed by without looking, as if the place did not exist. But Solara stepped closer, her heart pounding. She found him there sitting on a wooden crate repairing a small tool with rough, careful hands. His face lit up in surprise when he saw her. "You came," Daniel said simply. Solara gave a small nod. "I wanted to thank you again. For yesterday." He waved it off with a smile. "It was nothing. Anyone would have done the same." But she shook her head. "No, not everyone. I have seen people turn away. You didn't." Daniel studied her for a moment, then set the tool aside. "Sit," he said, patting the crate beside him. She sat, her cloak brushing against the dust. For a moment neither spoke. The silence between them felt heavy but not uncomfortable. Then Daniel asked, "Where are you really from, Lyra? You don't talk like the others. And your eyes, they look like they've seen more than most." Solara's chest tightened. She could not reveal the truth. If she told him she was a princess from another world, everything would change. He might fear her or worse, worship her. That was not what she wanted. "I come from far away," she answered carefully, "a place where people have everything they need. But still, something is missing." Daniel tilted his head. "Missing? How can that be?" She looked down at her hands. "Because wealth can fill houses but not hearts. People can have gold but still feel empty." Her words seemed to echo in the quiet space. Daniel leaned back, his eyes thoughtful. "You're right," he said at last. "I've seen people with money walk past the hungry without blinking. I've seen people chase riches until they forget their own families. Sometimes, the poorest people are the richest inside." Solara's eyes flickered up to his. "And you? Do you feel rich inside?" He gave a soft laugh. "Not always. I struggle. I work long hours. Sometimes I sleep hungry. But when I help someone, even in small ways, I feel alive. That's my wealth. Kindness doesn't cost anything, but it makes life lighter." Those words pierced her heart. Kindness doesn't cost anything. In her palace, kindness was always bought with gifts or promises. But here was a man who gave it freely, without thinking twice. As they spoke, a group of children ran past chasing a ball made of old cloth. Their laughter filled the air. Solara watched them, her face softening. "They are happy even with so little," she whispered. Daniel nodded. "Happiness isn't about what you have. It's about what you share." She turned toward him, and for a brief moment she forgot her disguise, forgot her mission. She just looked at him, not as a princess, not as a stranger, but as someone who had finally found truth in another's heart. But then, danger brushed the edge of her thoughts. What if he discovered her secret? What if he realized she was not human? Already she felt her energy slipping. The mark on her wrist, hidden under her sleeve, glowed faintly for a second before fading. She quickly pulled her cloak tighter, praying he hadn't noticed. Daniel, unaware, picked up his tool again and began working, speaking as if he could sense her thoughts.
"People will disappoint you sometimes, Lyra. They'll lie, they'll hurt, they'll leave.
But if you can still find a few who are true, it's worth all the pain. That's what I believe." Solara listened, her chest aching with emotions she had never known. This man, who lived in broken places and ate dry bread, was teaching her lessons her empire could not. She wondered, was this why fate had led her here? As the sun dipped low, Daniel stood and stretched. "Stay careful," he said. "The city can be cruel. But remember, there's always someone who cares even if you can't see them." Solara wanted to tell him everything, who she was, why she had come. But fear held her tongue. Instead, she whispered, "Thank you, Daniel, for seeing me, not as a beggar, not as a burden, but as a person." He gave her a gentle smile. "That's all you are, a person. And that's enough." As she walked away, the glow on her wrist flickered again, hidden beneath her sleeve. Her secret was safe for now, but she knew it could not remain hidden forever. The princess disguised as Lyra had come to test human kindness. Yet with every word, every look, she realized something unexpected. This test was not only about humans, it was also about her, and her heart was no longer the same. The days passed quietly, but Solara's thoughts never rested. Every night she sat beneath the stars, her heart torn between duty and desire. She had not come to Earth simply to survive. She had come with a mission, a test. She wanted to know if human kindness was true, or if it was only a fragile spark that faded when faced with danger. Daniel's kindness had shaken her. He had shared food, water, and words of comfort with a stranger he did not know. But Solara wondered, was it chance? Was it simply a moment of pity? Or was it proof of something deeper? She needed to know. On the fourth evening, as Daniel worked near the old factory, Solara stayed close by, hidden in the shadows. She touched the small device sewn into her cloak, a fragment of alien technology. With it, she could create illusions, events that looked real but carried no lasting harm. It was risky to use, but she had no choice. If Daniel's kindness was to be trusted, it had to be tested in fire. The streets were growing darker when Solara activated the device. A faint hum filled the air, and suddenly, just ahead of Daniel, a heavy cart rolled loose from the side of the road. Its wheels screeched as it tilted dangerously, threatening to crush anyone standing near. Solara stepped into its path, her cloak catching the faint glow of the street lamps. To anyone watching, it looked like she had tripped, frozen in fear. The cart rumbled closer, faster, seconds away from hitting her. She wanted to see what Daniel would do. Would he run? Would he stand back? Or would he step forward, risking himself for someone he barely knew? The choice was his. Daniel dropped the tool in his hands and shouted, "Lyra!" His voice cracked with urgency. Without hesitation, he sprinted across the broken street. His feet pounded against the ground, his arms stretched forward. The cart was almost upon her when he slammed his shoulder against its side. The force knocked him off balance, but it slowed the cart enough for Solara to stumble away. The cart crashed into a wall with a loud bang, sending sparks into the air. Dust and smoke rose around them. Daniel fell to his knees, coughing, his arm scraped and bleeding. Solara rushed to his side, her heart racing. She had wanted a test, but now guilt tore through her. He was hurt because of her. "Daniel, are you all right?" she cried, dropping beside him. He winced, brushing the dirt from his face. "I'll live," he muttered, forcing a crooked smile. "You're safe. That's what matters." Her throat tightened. He had thrown himself into danger without thinking, without knowing it was all an illusion. He had risked his life for her, not because she was rich or powerful, but because he cared. The test had given her the answer she feared and longed for. His kindness was real. "You didn't have to," she whispered, her hands trembling as she helped him to his feet. Daniel shook his head. "Yes, I did. What kind of man would I be if I stood and watched?" Solara stared at him, her chest heavy with emotions she could barely name. In that moment, she understood something her world had never taught her. Kindness was not measured by wealth or titles. It was measured by the courage to act, even when nothing could be gained. But even as her heart swelled with respect, fear shadowed her mind. Her device had flickered strangely when she shut it down. She prayed Daniel had not noticed, but she saw the way his eyes lingered on her cloak, the way his brow furrowed as if questions were forming. "Where did that card even come from?" he asked slowly. Her pulse quickened. She forced a weak smile. I don't know. Maybe it was loose." He studied her for a long moment, then nodded, though doubt still lingered in his eyes. "Be careful, Lyra. This city can break people if they're not strong." That night, Solara walked alone beneath the moon, her mind storming with thoughts. She had tested him and he had passed. But in doing so, she had placed him in danger. His kindness was proven, yet her heart ached with guilt. She had wanted to see if humans could be trusted. Now she was the one who felt unworthy of his trust. Still, one truth burned clear. Daniel was different. His actions were not the result of chance or pity. They were the result of who he truly was. And for the first time in her life, Solara felt something she had never allowed herself to feel. Not just curiosity, not just admiration, but the first spark of something far more dangerous. Something her empire would never accept, something that felt like love. The night after the accident, Solara could not rest. She sat in the shadows of the ruined factory, watching Daniel as he patched his scraped arm with a piece of cloth. His face was tired, but his spirit seemed unbroken. He had faced danger without hesitation, and her heart ached with both gratitude and guilt. She had wanted to test him, but instead she had nearly caused his harm. Daniel glanced at her as he tied the bandage. "You don't have to look so worried, Lyra. I've been hurt worse before." "This is nothing," she lowered her eyes. "It is not nothing. You risked your life," he gave a faint laugh. "That's what people do when they care. Didn't anyone ever do the same for you?" The question struck her deeply. For a moment, the image of her palace rose in her mind. Guards who obeyed orders, servants who bowed, advisors who praised every word she spoke. But none of them had ever risked themselves for her, not without expecting reward. She shook her head. "No, not like you." Daniel leaned back against the wall, studying her. His eyes were sharp but kind. "You speak like someone who has seen too much, and you hide like someone who's afraid to be known." Her breath caught. Could he see through her disguise? She pulled her cloak tighter, but it was too late. The mark on her wrist had begun to glow faintly again, a golden shimmer breaking through her sleeve. She quickly tucked her hand away, but Daniel's eyes narrowed. "Wait," he whispered. "What was that?" Solara's heart raced. Her disguise, her secret, it was slipping away. She tried to stand, but Daniel reached out, gently holding her arm. "Lyra, no, that wasn't normal. I've seen many things in this city, but never that. What are you hiding?" Her throat felt dry. For so long she had guarded her truth, believing no human could be trusted with it. But Daniel had shown kindness not once, not twice, but every time fate tested him. Could she tell him? Could she risk it? "I am not what you think," she whispered at last, her voice trembling. Daniel frowned. "Then what are you?" Slowly, with trembling hands, Solara pulled back her sleeve. The golden mark on her wrist glowed brighter now, symbols shifting like living light across her skin. Daniel's eyes widened, but he did not move away. He only stared, his face pale with shock. "You're not human," he said softly. Solara nodded, unable to meet his eyes. "I come from beyond the stars. I am—" She hesitated, then lowered her voice. "I am a daughter of a royal house. Where I come from, I have everything. But none of it mattered, because I wanted to know the truth about kindness. So I disguised myself and came here to see if a human heart could care for someone with nothing." Silence filled the space between them. Daniel's hand slipped from her arm, but he did not run. He did not shout. He only sat, breathing heavily as if his world had tilted. At last he spoke. "All this time, you were testing me?" Solara winced. "Yes, but I did not expect you to risk yourself so easily. I thought maybe you would turn away like the others, but you didn't. You proved more than I hoped for." Daniel rubbed his forehead, shaking his head. "An alien princess," he muttered. "And here I thought you were just a lost girl." Her voice broke. "I am both. I'm lost, Daniel. More than you know." He looked at her again, and what Solara feared most did not come. There was no hatred, no rejection. Instead, there was calm acceptance. His eyes softened. "You should have told me sooner. But I can't lie. It doesn't change what I saw in you. You're still the same girl who sat beside me, who ate bread and drank water. That's who you are to me." Her chest tightened with relief. She had expected fear, maybe even betrayal, but instead she found something stronger. Trust. But the moment of peace did not last. A sharp sound cut through the night, a humming vibration in the air. Solara froze. She knew that sound. Alien ships, her father's guards. They had been watching, waiting for the moment her disguise failed. Daniel looked up at the sky as faint lights appeared, weaving among the stars. "What is that?" Solara grabbed his hand, her voice urgent. "We must leave now." His confusion deepened, but he did not resist. He stood and followed as she pulled him toward the dark streets. Above them, the ships grew louder, their searchlights beginning to sweep across the city. Solara's heart pounded. Her secret was no longer safe. Her people would come for her, and if they saw Daniel with her, they would not let him go free. For the first time since leaving her world, Solara felt fear not for herself, but for another. The truth was out and everything had changed. The hidden princess was hidden no longer. The night sky split open with light. From above, silver beams swept across the streets like searching eyes. People in the city looked up in fear, pointing at the strange glow. Some thought it was a storm, others whispered of disaster, but Solara knew the truth. Her father's guards had come. They had found her. Her chest tightened as she ran with Daniel through the narrow streets. His hand was warm in hers, but his voice trembled. Lyra, no, Solara, what's happening? Who are they? She didn't look back. They are my father's soldiers. They've come to take me home. Daniel stumbled at her words. Home, you mean? Another world. Yes, she admitted. And they will not understand you. To them, you are nothing but a danger, a human who knows too much. The humming grew louder. Shadows of sleek alien ships crossed above the rooftops. With a sharp hiss, one landed in the street ahead of them. Its metallic surface gleamed in the moonlight, tall and frightening. The ramp opened, and armored figures stepped out, tall, glowing, their faces hidden behind helmets that pulsed with light. Princess Solara, one of them boomed, his voice echoing through a translator. You have broken your father's command. Your journey ends here. Come with us at once. Solara stopped, her breath heavy. Daniel stood beside her, his fists clenched, though he had nothing to fight with. One soldier's gaze shifted to Daniel. And the human, he said coldly. Eliminate him. He is not permitted to live knowing who she is. Daniel stiffened. His heart pounded, but he did not back away. Solara's own heart froze at those words. No, this was not what she wanted. Her mission had been to seek kindness, not to cause death. Stop, Solara cried, stepping in front of Daniel. You will not harm him. The soldiers paused, but their weapons glowed faintly ready. Princess, the leader said firmly, he is beneath you. He is of no worth. Step aside and let us carry out our duty. Her eyes blazed. For the first time in her life, Solara felt her voice rise not as a command to servants, but as a shield for another. You are wrong. He has more worth than you understand. He has shown me truth, when all the riches of our empire could not. If you touch him, you defy me. The guards hesitated. They had never heard their princess speak this way. One lowered his weapon slightly, uncertain. But the leader remained firm. Your father will not accept this human. He will not allow weakness to taint the royal line. Daniel finally spoke, his voice steady, though fear flickered in his eyes. If I'm such a problem, then take her and leave me. Don't hurt her because of me. Solara turned on him sharply. No, don't say that. Don't you see? You were the only one who saw me for what I was, without crown, without wealth. You are not the problem. You are the answer I came here to find. Her words hung in the night, stronger than any weapon. The guards shifted uneasily. They were trained to obey, yet this was their princess, declaring that a human, a poor man from a broken city, had more value than all the treasures of her empire. The leader took a step forward. Princess, you are confused. This human has bewitched you. Come with us now and we will erase his memory. He will not remember you nor this world you share. Solara's pulse raced. To erase Daniel's memory would be to erase everything. The bread he had shared, the water, the words that had touched her heart. The lessons she had learned, the kindness she had seen. It would all vanish. She could not allow it. No, she said firmly, her voice trembling but strong. If you erase him, then erase me as well. I will not return to a life of riches if it means losing the truth I found here. The soldiers froze. Never before had their princess defied them so openly. Even Daniel stared at her, shocked by her courage. The leader hesitated. The light on his helmet flickered as he spoke. You leave us no choice. If you refuse, we must bring this matter before your father. Solara lifted her chin. Then do it. But hear me now. This human saved me when I was nothing but a stranger. He risked himself when no one else would. If my father cannot see his worth, then perhaps he does not see mine either. Silence swept through the street. The guards exchanged uncertain glances. For the first time, the balance of power had shifted, not because of weapons, but because of truth spoken with conviction. Daniel's voice was low, almost broken. Solara, why are you doing this? She looked at him, her golden eyes glowing faintly in the dark. Because you showed me what it means to be seen not as a princess but as a person, and I will not let that be taken away. Above them, another ship descended, larger and brighter. Its symbol gleamed like fire, the royal crest of her father's house. Solara's heart pounded. The true confrontation was about to begin. The princess had spoken her choice, but the empire would not let her go so easily. The night air shook as the royal ship descended, larger than any that had come before. Its silver body gleamed like a mountain of light, and its engines roared with the power of 1,000 storms. Every human in the city looked up in fear. whispering of gods or monsters. But for Solara, it was something far more terrifying. It was home. The ramp opened slowly, and a tall figure stepped forward. His robe glowed with threads of starlight, and his crown shimmered like fire. This was the Emperor, ruler of half the galaxy and father to Princess Solara. His presence was enough to make even the guards bow low. "Solara," his voice thundered, rich with authority. "You have shamed your house. You left your throne. You hid among these creatures. Explain yourself." Solara stood tall, though her heart raced. Beside her, Daniel clenched his fists, uncertain if he should bow or run. He had never felt so small, yet never so determined to stand his ground. "Father," Solara said firmly, "I came here because I needed to see the truth with my own eyes. I wanted to know if kindness was real, and I found it, not in the halls of our palace, not among those who bow before us, but in him." She pointed to Daniel, whose eyes widened in shock. Murmurs rippled among the guards. The Emperor's gaze turned sharp as a blade. "A human?" he spat. "This fragile creature? You risked our empire's honor for this?" Solara stepped forward, her voice steady though her hands trembled. "Yes, because he gave me something our wealth never could. When I was weak, he fed me. When I was lost, he guided me. When I was in danger, he risked his life. He saw me not as a princess, not as a prize, but as a person. That is worth more than all the treasures in the galaxy." The Emperor's face hardened. "You speak with the tongue of a child. Power is what rules, not kindness. And now you have put us at risk by exposing yourself to these lower beings." Solara's eyes burned with tears she refused to shed. "If power is all we have, then we are poorer than any human. This man has nothing, yet he is richer in heart than all who serve you." The Emperor's gaze shifted to Daniel, cold and merciless. "You," he said, his voice like thunder. "Do you dare believe you are worthy to stand beside my daughter?" Daniel's throat tightened. His body shook, but he forced himself to meet the Emperor's gaze. "I don't claim to be worthy. I'm just a man, but I won't apologize for helping her. She needed me, and I did what anyone should. If that makes me unworthy, then so be it." For a moment, silence fell. The Emperor studied him as though searching for weakness. The guards tightened their grip on their weapons, ready to strike. Solara moved quickly, standing between Daniel and her father. "If you harm him," she declared, "then you harm me as well, because I will not return to our empire if he is left behind. This is my choice, father. My heart belongs here." Gasps echoed among the guards. The Emperor's expression shifted. Anger mixed with something else, something softer hidden deep beneath. For the first time, his voice lowered. "Solara, you would give up a crown for a human?" She lifted her chin. "A crown without kindness is nothing but chains. This human taught me freedom. He taught me truth. If I must choose, I choose him." Daniel stared at her, stunned. His chest tightened with emotions he had no words for. Never in his life had anyone spoken for him with such fire. The Emperor's eyes blazed. For a long moment it seemed he would order the guards to strike, to tear Daniel apart where he stood. But then slowly he raised his hand and the soldiers froze. His gaze lingered on his daughter, and perhaps, just perhaps, he saw himself in her defiance. At last he spoke, his tone heavy with warning. "Very well. You have made your choice. But remember this. The galaxy will not forgive weakness. One day your heart may betray you." Solara's voice was calm, unbroken. "Then let that day come. Until then, I will walk with the one who showed me what true strength is." The Emperor turned sharply, his cloak sweeping behind him as he returned to his ship. The guards followed, leaving only shadows in their wake. Within moments, the ship lifted into the sky, its roar fading into the stars. Silence returned to the street. Solara turned to Daniel, her face soft, her eyes shining. "You risked everything for me," she whispered, "and now I have risked everything for you. Do you regret it?" Daniel shook his head slowly. "No, because for the first time I don't feel alone." She smiled, a true smile, free of disguise. "Then let us walk this road together." And so, under the stars, the richest alien princess and the poorest human man stood side by side, not as ruler and subject, not as worlds apart, but as two souls bound by the simplest truth of all, that kindness, when freely given, could change not just lives but galaxies.